Today we will be covering lesson 32-2, completing the square. As shown in example B in lesson 32-1, quadratic equations are more easily solved with square roots when the side with the variable is a perfect square. When a quadratic equation is written in the form x squared plus bx plus c equals 0, you can complete the square to transform the equation into one that can be solved using square roots. Completing the square is the process of adding a term to the variable side of the quadratic equation to transform it into a perfect square trinomial. Solve x squared plus 10x minus 6 equals 0 by completing the square. Step 1. Isolate the variable term. Step 2. Transform the left side into a perfect square trinomial by doing dividing the coefficient of x term by 2, squaring the number to determine the constant, and to complete the square, you add that number to both sides of the equation. Step 3, solve the equation. We're going to dive into the try these A here at the bottom. Letter A. X squared minus 8x plus 3 equals 11. So the first thing it says is move the 3. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. This is step 1. So we have x squared minus 8x equals 8. Next, in step 2, we're going to complete the square. That says we're going to take the b term, negative 8. We're going to divide by 2. That gives me negative 4. And then we're going to square that. That's going to give me 16. So we are going to add 16 to both sides of the equation. So we have x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 24. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to rewrite this, step 3, as a perfect square trinomial. So this is going to be x minus 4 to the second power equals 24. Solve for x. So we have x minus 4 equals the plus or minus square root of 24. We're going to add 4 to both sides of the equation. So we have x equals 4 plus or minus the square root of 24. But 24 is not the reduced form of a square root. So over here off to the side, I'm going to say 24 can be split into 4 and 6. 4 is a perfect square. So this is going to say x equals 4 plus or minus the perfect square of 4 is 2. And we are left with the square root of 6. This would be my simplest form of the answer. X equals 4 plus or minus 2 square root of 6. Let's take a look at B. B is x squared plus 7 equals 2x plus 8. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides, and I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. So that's going to give me x squared minus 2x equals 1. Okay, so off to the side, we're going to complete the square. That says take negative 2, divide by 2. That gives me negative 1. And then it says square that. Well, negative 1 squared is positive 1. So we're going to add 1 to both sides. So that gives me x squared minus 2x plus 1 equals 2. This can be rewritten as x minus 1 squared equals 2. We take our square root of both sides. So x minus 1 equals the plus or minus of square root of 2. Then we add 1 to both sides. X equals 1 plus or minus the square root of 2. Take a moment to write these answers down. On the next slide, you're going to see the question asking the steps to complete the square. Go ahead and complete this and then move on to your debriefing.